Hello, everyone. Welcome to Living with Lions. This is the Mountain Lion Foundation's monthly webinar series. My name is Lace Thornburg, and I'm the Director of Communications for the Mountain Lion Foundation. If you are just tuning in to your first Living with Lions webinar, let me introduce you to the Mountain Lion Foundation. We are a national nonprofit dedicated to ensuring that America's lion survives and flourishes in the wild. Our work is funded by individuals like you, thank you, who care about mountain lions, and we have members in all 50 states and around the world. On our website, which is mountainlion.org, you can find out how to be an advocate for mountain lions in your community and also to make your voice heard with policymakers. And you can just learn more about these amazing animals. Tons of information there. Our guest today is Renee Patrick. And Renee is an accomplished long distance hiker who is always exploring public lands. When we started promoting this talk, we said she has more than 11,000 hard-earned trail miles under her boots. And now that figure is like 12,000. Today, we are going to be talking about practical advice for how to coexist with wildlife while exploring backcountry trails. And then we're going to dive into the ways that hikers can translate their experiences on trail into effective advocacy for wildlife. Renee is going to present first, and then we will open it up to questions after that. As you are listening, we invite you to stick your questions in the Q&A box. That will be the best place for us to find those. So put them in as you go along and we'll answer them at the end. And yeah, I'll invite Renee on and tell you a little bit more. Renee and I are both based in beautiful Bend, Oregon, which is the original homelands of the Confederated Tribes of the Warm Springs. The Confederated Tribes are made up of the Warm Springs, Wasco, and Northern Paiute people, and they ceded the land in this area in the Treaty of 1855 while retaining their regular and customary hunting, fishing, and gathering rights. Not so long ago, Renee and I worked together at Oregon Natural Desert Association, and we worked on engaging people in land and wildlife conservation. So it's a real pleasure to be joining Renee here again today. And Renee, thank you for taking the time to talk with some lion people and with our Mountain Lion Foundation community.
Hello, thank you, Lace. I'm thrilled to be here with you today to talk about hiking through lion country. And as Lace mentioned, I've been hiking long distance trails for over 20 years now. And in that time have crossed the country 3 times on the Triple Crown trails, which include the Appalachian Trail, Pacific Crest Trail, and Continental Divide Trail, along with many other shorter hiking trips, and most of them through mountain lion habitat. So in the event description for this talk, it mentioned my trail name, Shira. And so why do I call myself that? And what does it mean? If you're not familiar with this sort of culture on long distance hiking trails, we take on trail names, which are really alter egos or personas that are given to us on the trail by another hiker. So you may encounter 10 different Johns or 10 different Emilys. So it's a way for everyone to have a unique identity out there. Shira was the cartoon show that I grew up watching in the 80s. She was the princess of the universe, a powerful, kind, and generous superhero, and someone my friend thought I resembled, especially on day 3 of our thru hike of the Appalachian Trail in 2002. When I took the ski pole I was using as a hiking pole, raised it up over my head like the picture shows, and said, "I have the power." It was a particularly good trail. So from that point on, I had my trail name, and I've also carried the sword to Canada, not just once, like here on the Continental Divide Trail, but twice, like here on the Pacific Crest Trail. So it was just a fun thing that we like to do when we're hiking long trails, and I thought I'd share that with you. So back to hiking in mountain lion country. I've been lucky enough to spend many years hiking and working as an outdoor professional all throughout the US with in places that have confirmed mountain lion breeding populations. You may be familiar with this map. This is from the Mountain Lion Foundation's website. It shows you in the lighter color all the states that have those confirmed breeding populations. And this slide shows
Renee, we lost you there for a second on your volume, but I feel, or your microphone, but I feel you're on your way back shortly.
Okay, I'm here now. Can you see me, Lace?
Yes.
Available? Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. I was going to make up a
this-
great story about these trails.
Okay. They're colorful trails, and they take you to amazing places. Some of them include, like I mentioned, the Pacific Crest Trail. There's also the Colorado Trail, Arizona Trail, Wonderland Trail, Oregon Desert Trail, Tahoe Rim Trail, Blue Mountains Trail, and a couple others. I won't go through the whole list, but you can see from this map that anyone recreating or just living in the Western US lives in mountain lion habitat and would benefit from knowing tips on how to hike safely in these places. So this slide shows a white circle, and this is the location of my one mountain lion encounter. So that's one encounter in the 21 years that I've been hiking, and again, almost 12,000 miles. So this was on the Continental Divide Trail in 2015. I was hiking on the Idaho-Montana border, just south of Chief Joseph Pass, when I heard some rustling and looked up to my right to see a face just like one of these popping up over a down log. It was a very cute little mountain lion, but I immediately got nervous because I knew that much like bears, and I have a lot of experience with black bear encounters, that as a hiker, I didn't want to get in between a baby and its mother. So I kept moving, slowly walking past until I was out of sight. At the time, I didn't know if a young mountain lion would behave like an adult, but I thought it was best to slowly move past without any quick movements and remove myself from the area. Once I was past, I kept looking back to see if I was being followed, but didn't see any more signs of the little guy or his mother. This was actually a very exciting day for animal encounters because just a short while later, when I was on a series of dirt roads approaching Chief Joseph Pass, I started seeing large paw prints. I had an idea of what they were, but was trying to convince myself that it was maybe someone out walking their very large Great Bernard or Great Pyrenees dog. Needless to say, it was a wolf. When I got to the road and was trying to hitch a ride into Darby, Montana for my resupply stop, I saw a magnificent wolf cross the highway not 100 yards away from me. Didn't even look my direction, and it was incredibly awe-inspiring. So both encounters were, I thought, wonderful and exciting. And rather than come away from frightened or intimidated, again, I was exhilarated by the chance to see these animals. I was able to witness not one, but two very special wildlife sightings and something I've never seen again. So again, I felt privileged. So fun fact, if you see a wolf, your response will be very similar to seeing a mountain lion. So more on that in a bit. So it's not entirely true that I've only had one mountain lion encounter. I would say one-ish. I was hiking a few years ago in the Strawberry Wilderness in northeastern Oregon with my partner Kirk, and we were headed down a drainage towards a creek. So this photo was taken from a nearby area, not the creek that I'm describing. But when we saw some paw prints in the dirt, they looked fresh. So we started to pay attention and look around. We thought we might be pushing the cat down the drainage and didn't want it to feel trapped. So we were hiking slowly, looking around, trying to hear if there were any noises. A few minutes later, Kirk said my name, and at that moment, I looked to him and not at what he was trying to get my attention for, which was a large mountain lion that had bounded across the trail and up and out of the canyon. By the time I looked back at the trail, the cat was gone. So I was this close to seeing another mountain lion. We had originally been planning to camp at the bottom of the drainage where it met the creek, but quickly decided that we would be putting ourselves between the mountain lion and its water source. So decided to move on down the trail and camp away from the area. The takeaway I had from that experience was that mountain lions don't want anything to do with us and we don't want to get between the cat and its water source. So now I'd like to hear from you. We have a poll, and I'm just curious, have you ever seen a mountain lion while out hiking? No, maybe you've never seen a mountain lion. Maybe you've seen one. And I'd be curious if folks have seen more than one, because I think that's might be a rare occurrence. So we'll give you a moment to weigh in, and then curious to see what y'all have experienced out there. Okay. Can we see the results from the poll? Okay, most people have never seen a mountain lion. Very interesting. A few have seen one, 23%, and just 5% of you have seen more than one. Thank you very much. That's really interesting. So now I want to get into some practical advice for hiking in mountain lion habitat. Some common questions that come up usually when talking about hiking is, do you even have to worry about it when you're out? And what's the difference between when you're on a long hike as opposed to a day hike? And the answer is, you don't have to worry per se, but to be aware that you are walking in their habitat. And that applies to both long distance hikes or day hikes, even in a city park. So in Bend, Oregon, where I live, there are multiple sightings each year in the neighborhoods around the city. But that doesn't mean you have to live in fear of an encounter. Encounters, like we saw in the poll results, are in fact pretty rare. But before I get into some tips for hiking in mountain lion country, I want to give a shout out to the hosts of this talk today, the Mountain Lion Foundation. This organization is encouraging people to become advocates and put coexistence principles into action in their lives. So through the foundation, you can get action alerts about things you can do to speak up on behalf of mountain lions. I personally love action alerts because they help me understand what I can do to make a difference in an issue that I want to be engaged in. So some of the recent action items included a public comment period in Montana regarding options to increase mountain lion hunting quotas. And in California, they were trying to enact the California Ecosystem Protection Act, which was a piece of legislation that would place stronger restrictions on a powerful rodenticide, I think that's how you pronounce it, a chemical used to kill rodents, but has immune system impacts to mountain lions. So I really love the section on the website where you can learn more about specific issues affecting your state, and as well as learn about all the latest science and habitat studies. All right, so now let's get into some tips. I'm going to cover 4 different situations that you can prepare for. Before you go hiking, when you're on the trail, if you see a mountain lion, and finally, if a mountain lion attacks. And please remember, 99.99999% of the time, mountain lions keep their distance from humans and avoid hikers. But it makes sense to be aware of them and their behavior and be prepared for anything that could occur. So the best thing to do to avoid encounters is to help keep mountain lion habitat healthy. So, and again, a lot of those ways you can do that are explained through the Mountain Lion Foundation. But making sure that these animals have intact ecosystems is a great way to diminish our encounters with them. So when you're planning your hike, know that mountain lions are most active at dawn and dusk. So keeping that in mind, you can respect their space by avoiding these times to hike because they hunt when deer are active, usually at dawn and at dusk. So do your research. Look at social media posts about a park or a trail before you visit, or the park or trail's main webpage if they have one. There will often be alerts or warnings if mountain lions are particularly active in the area. So plan your outfit. Mountain lions avoid well-dressed hikers. Just kidding. But wearing Barbie pink is actually a good tactic to take on the trail. Why? Wearing bright or contrasting clothing is really helpful. While mountain lions do not see color like humans and are more attracted to movement, wearing bright and high contrast clothing can help signal that you are not their prey. Now let's talk about what to do on the trail. A very popular rule of thumb to diminish your chances of encountering a mountain lion while hiking is to hike in groups and not hike alone. I have to address this point because I've hiked thousands of my miles alone in the backcountry and love doing so because I'm able to deepen my connection with nature, feel truly empowered and exhilarated by solo time spent outside, and hike the kind of hike I want to. I think primarily the reason you might be warned against hiking solo is to avoid looking like prey to an animal. One hiker alone is more likely to be mistaken for food than many hikers together. So I want to ask Lace. Lace, do you have anything additional to share on the topic of hiking solo?
I think the real thing there is to emulate that you're not hiking solo. So it's okay to go out on your own if you pretend like you have a friend every once in a while, because the thing that is so helpful about hiking in groups is that you're making noise, you're laughing, you're talking, you're stomping about a little bit more. And what you want to prevent is some kind of surprise encounter where the mountain lion didn't hear you coming, didn't see you coming. And so, just give a little shout out every once in a while, like, hey, Forest, hey, Cougars, I am totally a human hiking down this trail. It might sound silly, but you're in the backcountry, so you can say and do whatever you want. Sing. And if you're really like not wanting to talk, maybe play your music a little bit, like play radio out, put your phone on speaker for a little bit. Instead of, especially don't wear headphones where you're not as observant as things around you or not listening to what you might hear in the brush. Just like flip that notion a little bit. So that would be my thoughts, because I agree hiking solo is pretty fun, but it is recommended against. So this is a way to counter that.
Thank you, Lace. So let's go on. So when you're on the trail, you can look for signs at trailheads. So much like checking out social media or a website ahead of time, if there has been recent or more active mountain lion activity, the trailhead kiosks will probably have some information posted. And look for actual signs of mountain lion activity. So seeing a dead animal carcass, especially a fresh one, is a big indication that there might be a cat in the area. Mountain lions have no problem feeding from a carcass, whether they killed it or not. Another sign you can look for is mountain lion scat. The problem is identifying it, though. In general, it can be big, almost the size of human poop, especially in circumference. And sometimes it will have hair from their prey in it. If it's dry, it's old. If it's moist and warm, it's probably new. So another sign are fresh mountain lion tracks, much like Kirk and I saw on the trail I was telling you about. But unless you have experience in tracking or you see a paw print in snow, it might be hard to tell how fresh the track is. Either way, just seeing tracks means the lion has been where you are and could come back. Their paw print is about 2 inches tall by 4 inches wide and does not have claw or nail prints. So dogs do. You can also tell them apart from dog tracks by looking at the top toe. If one toe is in front of the others, it's a cat. If both top toes are level, it's a dog. So there are exceptions, but that's a good general rule. And it's also worth noting a mountain lion's hind foot steps in his front track. So that creates overlapping patterns. So next on the trail, pay attention to your surroundings. Periodically check around you, especially before entering places with dense brush or low visibility. And this is a good one. Lace already mentioned, avoid wearing headphones. So this ties into the previous tip about being aware of your surroundings, and that goes for sounds as well. So when going out with pets or children, keep them close and don't let them wander out of sight. Pets should always be leashed, and consider extra steps like light up collars or GPS clips. Keep them close to you so they don't accidentally stumble upon or chase wildlife. It's easy to see how a dog could be mistaken for prey, and chasing some wildlife might bring the mountain lion back to you. So keep your dogs and your children close. And then again, the dead animal carcass. If you run into a dead animal in the brush, steer clear. Don't investigate or disturb the area. Mountain lions cache their prey for weeks at a time, and they'll return to the cache to eat. So now let's talk about if you see a mountain lion. Remember, the mere presence of mountain lions near trails should not be cause for fear or alarm. We are in their habitat and they are inclined to avoid us. They are not aggressive by nature and really do go out of their way to avoid us. If you see a mountain lion, give them space. Do not approach, film, or follow it, and give it an opportunity to escape. If it is watching you, it may be simply curious, or may even view you as a predator. Lions will not turn their back on you if they view you as dangerous, because they know from their own hunting behavior that predators attack from behind. So a lion not backing down is often a sign that you already have the advantage. Don't run. Rapid movement like running or even biking may trigger a lion's instinct to chase. Appear large by raising your arms, opening up your jacket, picking up children or pets, which also keeps them from panicking and running. If you're with others, stand close together. If you're using hiking poles, raise them up and get ready to use them if it does approach you. And then make some noise. Yell, shout, bang your water bottles, call for help. You may even want to blow your emergency whistle. And maintain eye contact. This shows the lion that you are aware of its presence and not afraid. Never run away from a mountain lion, bend over, crouch down, or anything to break eye contact. And slowly back away and assess the situation. Consider whether you may be between the lion and its kittens, prey, or cache. If you have a clear path to retreat, back away slowly in that direction to create distance, giving the lion the opportunity to retreat. So now if a mountain lion attacks, fight back. You want to protect your neck and throat. Use rocks, jackets, tree branches, hiking poles, fanny packs, even bare hands to turn away the mountain lion. Use bear spray if you're carrying it. And know, again, that attacks are very rare. Hit the animal in the head, specifically the eyes. The longer you can punch, hit, and fight it off, the more you will convince the mountain lion that you are not worth the effort. If your hiking partner is being attacked, apply those same principles and attack the lion. There are many accounts of a second person successfully scaring a mountain lion off of a friend. Above all, hike a mountain lion habitat with a respectful attitude. We are walking through their home. Let's treat it that way. So I have one final tip, and that is hikers make the best advocates because they have that firsthand experience. So one personal account told to the right person is moving and powerful. It's about making yourself a stakeholder. Agency folks often only consider hunters, so we can be vocal about speaking from our own personal experience and when communicating with decision makers about mountain lion issues. Above all, I believe that when we see ourselves as part of nature, that we will act differently. That is the basis for the business I started this year, a long distance trail consulting company. So I guide long distance trail organizations, hikers, and the outdoor industry to improve the hiking experience and inspire action on behalf of the environment. I love sharing my experiences and encouraging respect when recreating outside. So a big thanks to the Mountain Lion Foundation for having me on to talk to you today. And now I think we're going to get into some questions and answers. And I will stop the screen share for this section.
Thank you so much, Renee. That was great. I love your very practical advice, your very calm advice, and keeping it all in perspective for us. And yes, it was just fantastic information about what wildlife coexistence looks like. We do have some questions coming in the Q&A, and those are teeing up now. And I will just put out a little plug for if you're thinking about asking a question, you don't know if you should, you could win a whistle. we have actual safety whistles available, and we'll pick a few people kind of semi-randomly, but also if we like their question, to send those whistles to. So I'm going to go to the Q&A, and the first question that I'm going to grab here is, what time of year is more likely for there to be cubs? And I think I can grab this one, Renee. And cougars are interesting. They have such a wide range and they live in such a diversity of habitats that there's not necessarily the same kind of seasonality that you would see with a lot of species. But that said, they do have kind of a springtime birth pulse for having more cubs. And so by giving birth. And so by late summer, early fall, you're seeing cubs around. And the thought there, the scientific theory is that, they want to have cubs that are able to be kind of on their own heading into a winter season if they're in a wintry climate, but not so big that they're a huge burden on feeding. Because the moms do stay with the cubs for 18 up to 24 months. So a pretty long period that those cubs and kittens are following mom around to learn all the hunting techniques. And so for the first 6 months, they're totally reliant on mom. And then after that, they're kind of testing out their hunting strategies. So great question. And I think we've answered that. So it's kind of all year round, but more often in late summer. Do we have thoughts about hiking safely with dogs? Pamela would like to know.
Yeah, I would say much like I mentioned in the talk, the issue about dogs is the mountain lion might see the dog as prey. And so especially if it's running in the brush, especially through thick brush, the movement might trigger their hunting instinct. So if you can keep your dog on leash, keep them close to you, that will prevent, the mountain lion from thinking your dog is prey. And as I mentioned, if you have an encounter with the mountain lion, if you see one, pick your dog up if you don't have a massive dog, because that will keep them from running, or keep them tight with their leash. And that will help keep them and you safe. Lace, do you have more to add on that?
No, I think you covered that. Well. Let's see, I'm going to go back to the Q&A here. This is kind of a question that I think is interesting. Are there mountain lion tours? There are some people that lead photography workshops to show that how to do camera trapping for photography. I've definitely seen those in the United States. And then there are photo tours that a lot of people that are photographers for our calendar, which is coming out, every year, but coming out again this fall for 2024. I know some of those photographers lead photography tours, but they tend to be in Patagonia, where the mountain lions have never been hunted or not to my knowledge hunted. They're not hunted and have different behaviors than these mountain lions, and a little bit more out in the open. And so there are some. Is it worth carrying a bear bell when hiking alone?
I would say yes. And I've heard conflicting things on the usefulness of bear bells for bears. But again, getting to the making noise part, especially if you're by yourself, the more you can make an unnatural sound. And I think I saw something in the chat about hissing. I think making unnatural sounds that they would not normally hear in nature are probably the most effective at warning them, like, something that I'm not familiar with is coming my way. I want to get out of the way. So by making noise, you're giving the mountain lion a chance to get away so you don't have an encounter.
Yeah, and human voices are best. Bear spray is good, though. We'll just add that. Let's see. What else do we have here? Are there any organized efforts to reduce or do away with mountain lion hunting? Yes, we have some efforts in our World at Mountain Lion Foundation looking at, what's the right level of hunting that's scientifically or ethically responsible for a given state and a state population in the Mountain Lion Foundation. So you can follow our work for that one. Oh my gosh, these questions are really good. This is the hard part about Q&As is you're going to get people that have questions that you don't know. And so we want to take full responsibility for the fact that we may not know all of the answers, but we will attempt to answer the ones we do know well, and then take some of these questions and put them into a follow-up email. And also looking, I just want to direct people, these are awesome questions. And then you'll find these answers on our website and in following our materials too. And we have a few more moments to talk today. So let's see. Within their ranges, do lions move up in altitude seasonally or just prey dependent? I'm going to go with just prey dependent on that one. I could be wrong, but I think prey dependent. Very specifically, any advice for walking with mini horses or donkeys on the trail? I do not know, but Renee, you may know the answer to that question.
I have seen, so on the Continental Divide Trail, I actually saw some pack animals. I think they were yaks, but they had bells. And so I think that was again for the bears and any other predators. So they had bells. In fact, there was also a mule team I saw in Yellowstone that had bells, and these bells were going off all night because the mules were like walking around. But again, yeah, so to go back to the bear bell question, I think that's the great use of them as for pack animals as well.
I feel like we're not so much on bear bells here, but just saying.
Okay, Mountain Lion Foundation is the expert advice.
on that particular bell thing. Just a note, thinking about the prey question too, prey do move seasonally. So I guess you could think the cougars are moving seasonally with their prey. So, let's see, do lions make dens that they return to for an entire season? No clue. Great question, David Strauss. I should know that one. I wish that parks near or in mountain lion country would post signs, but they do not. Only in national forest or wilderness areas where I live. And it worries me. I would say that I have seen many signs about, not just national forest or wilderness areas, but state parks will post those signs as well. I know we have some signage that is in multiple languages that we make available to parks and other facilities to download and use. And I've definitely seen them in some. So maybe not in Gretchen's particular area, but there are parks that do post signs around. It's a mixed bag though, as you've seen probably, Renee, with trail signage all over the world. It can really vary on the level of trail signage that is out there.
But it sounds like a suggestion I have, if you would like to see that on your local trails, maybe you can talk to the agency and also mention the Mountain Lion Foundation has signage, make it easier for them to actually do what you're asking them by, oh, look at this great, package of materials that already exist. And hearing from you that you would like this information, I think would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I think that we are going to need to wrap up here for these questions. There are more and they are fantastic, but like I said, we'll try to pull together some resources that will answer some of these, especially the behavior questions, more comprehensively, and we'll send that out to everybody in the recording afterwards. Let's see. I will ask my colleague Chelsea to chat with anyone who asked the best question and see if they want to get the whistle mailed to them. We can follow up and get your address after this. So exciting thing on that. And I guess I will say, it's like such a pleasure to chat with you, Renee. Thank you for joining us today. And I know that since we didn't answer all sorts of hiking questions, we stayed very specific to mountain lions. We will want to also let you know that if you want to hear more hiking tips from Renee, she has a lot of podcasts and guest appearances that she's been on. And like I said, we'll also have Mountain Lion Foundation information that we can share about mountain lions. And let's see, our next Living with Lions webinar is going to be fantastic. It's coming up on September 20th. It's called On Crossings, and this is with Ben Goldfarb. He's an environmental journalist that just wrote a book all about wildlife crossings and something he's calling road ecology. And so we'll be focused in on the Santa Monica mountain lions. If you are not familiar with that area, it's just outside Los Angeles, and they have a very threatened population of mountain lions that one of the biggest impacts to them is roads and the highways and the freeways. You think of Southern California, you think roads. Sure enough, that is impacting mountain lions. So we'll have a great chat with him coming up on September 20th. We'll put a link to that event in this wrap up as well. And let's see, anything else? I think that's good. Thank you all for the questions, everybody. I will just say it's really gratifying to see all of the interest in this topic and to know that there's this community of people out there that are great advocates for lions. Couldn't emphasize what Renee said more about hikers and backcountry explorers and enthusiasts being good advocates and making yourself a stakeholder and telling wildlife officials that you care about this wildlife too is really, really, really important. So we're really glad that you're part of this wildlife loving community. Thank you for tuning in today.
Thanks, everybody.